Ticket trouble! The engines on New Florida are always really useful with their direction of travel. Sometimes steam engines have long hood forward and sometimes they have short hood forward. This is a common practice for preschool railroads, and the really useful engines like to do their work. Women trains and men trains work hard on the tracks too because they carry whatever they can to be really useful. Mr. Cakester had bad news for Shelley. The school bus that was taking kids on a field trip to the Science Museum is leaking oil, he said. Shelley, I want you to make up for it. I will do that, sir, she said. And she steamed off to collect the kids. She buffered up to the coaches. And then the fuel went into her tender. And she puffed off ringing her bell. Then she puffed along the main line, and the kids were excited. Then Scribble was up ahead. Her safety valve had burst. I'll take the football players to the stadium for you, said Shelley. Thanks, said Scribble. Do it. She buffered the coaches up and puffed off with all of her might. Long, strong Shelley coming through, Shelley said. And then she saw Durley. I'll have your skiers to the mountain for you, she said. Thank you, Shelley, said Durley. She buffered the coaches up and puffed off on her way. She came across Kate. I'll take the baseball players to their stadium for you, said Shelley. That'll be great, said Kate, and she buffered up to the coaches. And then she saw Amelia up ahead picking up passengers. I'll have your passengers delivered in no time, said Shelley. Thank you, Shelley, said Amelia. She buffered the coaches up. And then Audrey was there. Hook up my train, she said. Her drawbar was broken, and then the Amfleet cars hooked up with a thunk. And then Shelley helped her friends all day. Then she saw Juliet. I'll deliver your freight cars for you. Thank you, Shelley, said Juliet. And then she saw Nolan pulling in with his passenger train, getting ready for his departure. I'll have your passenger train delivered in no time, said Shelley. Thank you very much, Shelley, Nolan said. Hook them up to me. And then Nolan puffed off. The coaches hooked up. I'll deliver your freight cars for you, Courtney and Megan. Deliver your coaches for you, said Shelley. They're not freight cars. That's okay if you make a mistake, said Megan. You can handle it. So they hooked up the coaches for the... And then Shelley asked Katie and Megan this. I'll help deliver your cars for you, said Shelley. Thank you, they said. And then they hooked up the freight cars. And the freight cars were being shunted into place. And the brake van was removed. And Shelley puffed with all her might. The coaches were heavy. This is the longest line of train cars I've ever hauled. And then she began to go fast with everyone's jobs. I'm gonna do everything, Shelley said. The freight cars clattered along the track. And then she started to go fast. Oh no, help! She groaned. My brakes are gonna catch fire! And then she went faster and faster down the line. That's the fastest speed I've ever heard, said an Amtrak crew member. Her brakes caught fire, and Shelley couldn't stop. Then Hernata was waiting, with 5 Amfleet cars. She was waiting at the signal, and then she raced off when Shelley approached, because Lorraine was coming in the opposite direction with the inbound commuter train. The gates began to come down, and then Lorraine steamed over the crossing. Make way for me, she said. Brace yourself, Hernata, said Shelley. She bashed the rear Amfleet car, and then Hernata braced for impact. Oh no, she cried. I'll brace myself. It was too late! Bye-bye! Called Hernata, and Shelley smashed through the coach and went flip-sided. Luckily, nobody was hurt, but the freight cars were all derailed and scattered. Shelley was on her side. I'm sorry, she said. It's my fault. Then Mr. Cakester arrived on board Wendy. He scolded Shelley. No one has reached their destinations, he stormed. The kids didn't get to their museum, and no one else got to their destination either. This has caused confusion and delay, and now it's a big mess. I'm sorry, sir, whispered Shelley sadly. What happened? Asked Wendy. Shelley did everything at once, said Cakester, and I scolded her. Don't worry, Shelley, puffed Wendy. I'm sure you didn't mean it. You'll be repaired in no time, said Lorraine. Just then, Treva arrived to collect Shelley. I'll be at the works in no time, said Shelley. Will do, said Camden. And then Treva set off with Shelley on board. And then she came to a steep grade. It was the steepest climb ever. Then Treva had an idea. I'll be at the top of the hill in no time, said Treva. Then there was trouble. Shelley started to roll. Help! Cried Shelley. I can't stop! I can't brake either, said Camden. He was frightened. I'll come after you, said Treva. I can't stop, moaned Shelley. She rocketed along the line. The guard uncoupled Camden and he switched to the rear of the train. And a car raced along and Shelley almost crashed into it. Becky was at a station. It's a nice place to be, said Becky. But she didn't know about the runaway train, and then she raced after it. "Oh," she said, "I should hit the brakes!" But it was too late! Becky watched in horror. Shelley flew backwards through the air. "Look at me!" cried Shelley. "I'm flying backwards!" And she flew down and landed right where she needed to be. And Treva pulled Becky back onto the rails. "Thank you, Treva," Becky said. A few minutes later, Shelley was repaired, and then Mr. Cakester had a job. "Since Shelley can't do everyone's jobs at once," said Cakester, "you should do it for her, Treva." He said, "What?" "Sounds good, sir," said Treva, and she steamed off to pick up all the train cars that were left behind.